I was coming up to a period in my life where I had to really address some patterns of I think sometimes you're aware of them, but you're not really aware of how deep they go. Um, and so yeah, I kind of hit about maybe about May, June, and it was really I'd reached a bit of a point in my life where the same patterns were coming up, and all of my patterns have always been particularly around relationships, all sorts of relationships. And so there were things that were really being mirrored back to me, and big triggers, big kind of issues from my background and my childhood that were like affecting me physically. And I suppose my pattern of burnout was the biggest thing that's always been my go-to state. Um, Particularly, with the background of autoimmune and quite severe autoimmune, not that long ago when you think about it. Um, this capacity to just pushing through and working through stuff and keep going no matter what. So I just felt it was really important lesson for me to learn, and just the work that you do. And obviously I'd seen some of your posts and things, and I just thought, no, I think I need to explore this a little bit because something needs to change.
So, what were your biggest challenges and frustrations before we started working together?
Those repeated patterns. So I obviously work, in a similar field as well, but I just knew there was something, much, much deeper. And there's been a few times in my life over the last probably 3 years where I've really felt a need to just explore this a little bit more. And there's been a few months where I'm just been rigid, I just can't. And my usual pattern would always keep running, keep moving, this fight, flight, and whatever. And I think this time I was really noticing I just can't do that anymore. The burnout stages were quite well, very serious last Christmas. I think that was the first time I thought, you just can't keep going like this. I'm obviously coming up to 50 and, in that stage of my life where things are just getting harder and harder. So I just didn't have the energy to keep pushing through like I used to. And I don't think I had the emotional capacity
Yeah.
to keep dealing with it the way I was dealing with it. So yeah, it was definitely right time. Definitely.
So, what did you enjoy most about working with me?
I think, you know, when you've been on a little journey and you've done stuff yourself, you always, you've always got blind spots, but you always think, oh well, I know most of it. But sometimes you really need to go back
Mhm.
and re-explore the basics and be shown them in a really gentle way. And I think, that's what you did, was really allow me to see um yeah, things that I knew but I didn't know. And it wasn't in that this is what it is, it was very gentle, um, very easy. And I think it allowed me to be kind of seen as a human being rather than someone that was just, going through something in some kind of, crisis. It was just to be seen in a space and held energetically, I think. I think the big changes that I felt were working with the Safe and Sound, and also obviously Johnny that you work with. That was a real help to have that as an additional part of the program as well. I think it was and your timing on that was just spot on. It was like, yeah, this is the time. And that kind of depth of knowledge is really important to me. It can feel really vulnerable when you're in those states, really vulnerable. And that's not something I'm really good with. So, to be able to be just witnessed really in and for someone to actually say, this is a lot, you're going through a lot,
Yeah.
and that's okay, was good enough for me. So yeah.
I think, like, typically for people who've never done this kind of work before, especially with in the somatic work or work deeply within their nervous system,
Mm,
especially in alignment with their consciousness or awakening or whatever you
yeah.
call it. Like, I always find that, did you feel that the essence of the slowness and depth are trying to build and co-create safety in the body, and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
challenging it
It
can
was really,
actually be.
it was the biggest challenge for me because I'm normally like, right, we've done that, tick it off, move on, tick it, that's and healing in any sense has always been right, we need to do this and then we need to get through it. That had always been my pattern. And because I can push through patterns of healing and never really get to the right level and the right place because I'm so busy getting there. And then you find the next thing to get through. It's this healing, from healing as we talked about. But yeah, and I think my body definitely recognized that that wasn't, but it took me a little while,
Mhm.
but once it was like, okay, there's some trust there in my nervous system, in my body, then it was like, okay, then we're ready, then we're ready. So yeah, that gentle movement, it felt probably really irritating to start with because I'm like, come on, we can just do that. I know this.
Let's
Let's
go.
move on. Let's keep moving,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just that knowledge of like, yeah, you're not ready yet, just time, steady, steady, without saying you're not ready, because that would have been the worst thing as well.
Yeah. So what did Safe and Sound Protocol do for you within the program? What was your experience of that?
um, yeah, I was, I suppose, going through it at the time a little bit, but I know that we worked it in with Johnny as well, the herbs,
Hmm.
and I can honestly say that it was incredible. But the Safe and Sound Protocol, it's so simple, and yet it's some big breakthroughs there. Obviously, we had a conversation, and it was really like, come on, we've got to do this. But for me to get out of this and into that was the hardest part, even though that's what I do and what those little pieces of us that we really want to avoid. All of us, we've all got those little blind spots that are like, no, we're just not going to go there. Um, yeah, and that kind of part of the journey got me to a space of, when you're recognizing changes, the other side of it,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh yeah, that's a real shift, like a real deep sense of self returning, maybe something that I've never felt before, actually. That always that questioning that I had before, and then it was like, no, a full body yes or a full body no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely shifted up after using Safe and Sound.
So what is possible for you now that wasn't possible before?
Oh, so much. So much. It's been quite a year. um I'm making better decisions. Some things in my life that weren't working out, I've been able to let go of. um I've been able to see myself and the things that I've been through and really recognize where they come from, and now I'm dealing with them a lot better. Even when they come up, they're less, short, sharp, and shocking. I'm not overriding those sensations anymore, which is huge for me. In fact, that probably made me cry a little bit. I'm not overriding them anymore. I'm not like, right, you can't do that, telling myself off. It's really about, okay, you need to sit with this a little while because that's not, there's something coming up for you there that needs to just be addressed. And the slowness that's come back, being able to be bored is lovely. Being able to, make better decisions even for my body, regular practices, regular food, all of those things. And it's still, there's still things going on. I've had a lot of emotional stuff come up in the last month, but moving through those and noticing the
Yeah.
physicality of it and just being present with it rather than like, okay, well, we need to fix this now. And you've just got to push through and override it. So being able to get better rest and take moments of, peace and space and smell the coffee a little bit. And that's been lovely.
One of the things I always approach and always mention, especially from my social media and generally, is slowing down doesn't mean giving up. It actually
Yeah.
means moving forward. Can you relate to that?
Well, I couldn't have done because I'd go, yeah, yeah, no, I completely understand. But no, now, yeah. And I'm obviously still live a busy life, and
Hmm.
it's, but I recognize now I actually have more capacity to have those moments of busyness and say, okay, well, because you're going to get rest here, and I actually take it, whereas before I would have been like, no, you can't. That being able to be slow um is always something I've tried, and it's always been a bit but now I can be really slow and calm and patient with myself and more compassionate. Yeah, the slow part of the program, like I say, it was not irritating. I think it was just like, okay, yeah, done. And then
Yeah.
before that depth came in, and then it was really, oh, okay, this is actually
It's
this
landing.
is actually working. So yeah, yeah, it's been great.
And what would you say, like, with regards to, within the framework of women that I work with, women within the conscious landscape, potentially in awakening journeys, for somebody who's had a significant amount of experience at a professional level, as well as your own spiritual evolving journey, what would how would you kind of transcribe it to other women on their journey of the importance of working with your nervous system within your awakening landscape? Like,
Oh, oh, how do I put that into words? I wish I'd have done it 30 years ago. I wish I'd have known that I needed to do it 30 years ago. Um, what has come up for me and the awareness is I don't think I could have gone to every drumming circle, every Kundalini class, and the awarenesses that I've had in this journey have been completely different. Being able to feel safe enough to have those awakenings and those awarenesses has been incredible. Yeah, it really has been a physical, emotional, a mental, and spiritual experience, definitely. And it's not been easy either, but it's certainly been more gentle than a lot of the things that I've been through. Yeah, it's really hard to put into words for someone that waffles on too
you're
much.
not welcome. So just coming to the end, like I feel even within the time we've had within the program, like we've created quite a unique bond with each other, especially
Yeah.
because we work in the kind of same fields, and it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to be doing the
Oh,
work.
me too.
And just asking you, what would you say to someone who's thinking about working with me but not 100% sure?
Oh, do it. Do it, do it, do it. I I'm often never do anything without being pushed in that direction, especially when it's something that I really need to face. It's been like having my head shoved into it. But um I'm also a big believer in right timing as well. But I would absolutely recommend it for the investment and the time and the space that it gives you. And just it's just been such a journey. And I can't even pinpoint one thing that I would say like why I would go for it. But
Mhm.
if you're thinking of a really deep level transformation and change in your life that feels easier, more grounded, and more, I don't know, safe,
Mhm.
then yeah, go for it. I would highly recommend it to anyone.
Amazing. Thank you very much for
Thank
connecting,
you.
sharing some truth, some wisdom, and some connection around the Embodied Wisdom program.